One of the big things that I came away with is that the people that are going to figure this out aren't the ones that are waiting for answers. They're the ones that are asking the questions and actively making things, doing things, all while there's so much uncertainty going on around us. It's mid-May. I'm back at my place in Nova Scotia and I'm thinking about my recent trip to Toronto. The trip involved many things, and one of the highlights was spending time at Hot Docs Film Festival. I approached things a little bit differently this year and purchased a pass to be an industry professional and have access to different rooms and spaces and talks with other filmmakers in the process that are making their own films. A big part of the reason why I went to the Hot Docs Film Festival was to sort of enter this room with the notion that I've been working as a cinematographer for about 15 years and realizing that I'm trying to sort of figure out what the future looks like for me in this industry, what kind of filmmaker I want to become, and what kind of work I want to do. And this video is a part of me figuring that out. I'm bringing you along for that process. There's a lot of things I don't have answers to yet. That's something that I figured out while being at the film festival. And I think that reality is similar for a lot of other filmmakers too. I wanted to unpack some of the ideas and things that I learned, share them here, as well as also share my own pitch for a film that I'm in the process of developing for Searching for Soul. I feel like that pitch belongs out in the world as much as it might belong at a festival like Hot Docs. One of the big things that I learned to do was listening to how other people pitched their projects. Over the course of 2 days, an entire auditorium was filled with filmmakers, directors, funders, distributors, and a handful of people were selected to present their own projects. And it was really powerful listening and hearing about an idea in its early stages. And I came away from that experience feeling really strongly about my own ability to pitch. I spent time watching a number of documentary short films. There were a couple that really moved me, that I walked away with intense inspiration. You know, it's beautiful to sit in a movie theater and be in an audience full of other people that are keen to watch a film and engage with that director and the idea and the story. One of those projects is Time and Water by a director named Sarah Dosa. I remember sitting there and it was just such a profound story and put a lot of fuel on the fire for me to walk out of that room and to continue to pursue my own creative ideas. I went to Hot Docs with the mentality of trying to figure out what people are doing and how they're navigating this shift of traditional film moving into new platforms and ways of working. I think a lot about the phrase legacy systems. That phrase can apply to so many things that we're experiencing at this day and age as humans. There are a lot of ways that things have traditionally been done, whether it's how governments have been run, whether it's how the medical system or financial systems or technology has worked, and it applies in filmmaking. And I think about that a lot. Films have largely been made in a very similar capacity for a long time. The core of the medium hasn't changed. Obviously, the technology and approach and techniques have, and that will continue to evolve with time and technology. But the core is still there. What we're seeing now is those old legacy systems being shaken up. And we're in this period of unknown of what's next. How are things going to work? Not a lot of people are having conversations right now about what this is or addressing it directly. Budgets are changing. Money is changing. How stories are told is changing. The platforms in which stories are shared is changing. Audiences are changing. So much is changing right now, and it's overwhelming. But we have to find ways to push through. And that's what I believe I'm doing here with Searching for Soul and just on my own journey as a filmmaker. I think about the times when I'm on my adventures in the outdoors, whether it's kayaking on the ocean or bushwhacking through the woods or climbing a mountain somewhere on the other side of the world. And those moments of unknowns are actually really beautiful spaces. I think they can feel very intimidating and scary. Fear can be a feeling that pops up as a human when we don't know what's coming next. And in those moments, we can tap into it from two different perspectives. One of those perspectives is to feel the fear and let it sort of overtake you. And that's a really challenging place to be. It can make you more prone to making mistakes or fumbling or undermining your own thought process and mental ability. Or you can see it from the other side of things, where it is a scary thing, but you put a level of focus and intention and understanding in order to move forward. It's sort of holding both the good and the bad at the same time. I can let myself get overwhelmed by a lot of this sort of doom and gloom, which I have, and that's happened often over the past couple of years. But I have to work really hard to protect myself, to pull myself out of that, to keep my vision straight, and to feel like there's hope moving forward. It's not naivety. It's just navigating these muddy waters, being in the fog and trying to find your way through. The only way you can find your way through is if you keep pushing forward. The honest answer is nobody really knows, and we're all just trying to figure that out right now. That's a scary place to be. The human brain, I know I can speak for myself, can get very overwhelmed in these moments. And I've had to work really hard to keep my focus, to care for myself and to push myself so that I can move forward. Because at the core, I still want to make, I still want to create. And I think that sentiment, based on what I experienced while moving around the film festival, was that there are a lot of other people that feel similarly. We have stories that we need to tell, and the world needs those stories right now. So how do we move that? Here's what landed with me between all those conversations and panels. Find stories that you have proximity to. Find those stories that you are close to, that you're involved in, and tell those stories. And I think what's really intriguing in this sort of switch from legacy to these new systems is that it doesn't necessarily involve a filmmaker. The accessibility of equipment and tools is broadening the scope of the stories that can be told. For someone like me that's been working in this industry for so long, that's scary as hell. Why? Because my ego likes to get in the way. Why can't I be the one that's telling these stories? Why am I not the person that's doing that? And the reality is, that's a normal thought in this process. But at the same time, it's time to make room. It's time to share. It's time to make sure that other people have their voices magnified, amplified, shared, whatever it might be. As I share these ideas, I understand and realize that a lot of other people are interested as well. So that's fuel for the fire. But ultimately, I'm doing this because I'm curious, because I want to engage, because I want to tell stories and listen and see how the world's changing and be involved in that conversation of how things are going to move forward. I had mentioned earlier that I wanted to talk about this pitch. Within Searching for Soul, I'm developing a film that I've sort of given it this working title, Here and Now. It was 2 a.m. on New Year's Day. I had just moved to Nova Scotia. My brother and I were driving down a highway, and I thought that we were being followed by a drunk driver. Then the car crashed. We pulled over. It turns out it wasn't a drunk driver. It was a man in cardiac arrest. His wife was in the passenger seat. His 2 teenage kids were in the back. I did CPR on him on the side of the highway. He didn't survive. I watched a man take his last breath for the first time in my life. I watched his family realize that their lives had split into a before and after. And here's the thing that I haven't been able to shake since. That family was dealing with something that every single one of us will face, and almost none of us are ready for it. Not because we can't be, because we don't talk about it. I'm Mark Clausen. I'm a filmmaker. I've been making films for years, but this project, it's different from everything else I've done, and I want to tell you why that matters in a minute. The film I'm here to talk about is called Here and Now. This is the working title. It's part of a series I'm making called Searching for Soul, my YouTube platform. The first episode is about death. But I want to be really clear about what kind of film this is and what it isn't. This is not a film about grief as suffering. It's not a film that asks you to brace yourself. Someone I'll be featuring said something to me that became the tonal compass for this entire project. She said, "Death is magical." That's the film, that's the tone. A film about death that's actually a film about being alive right now, about the people you love, the conversations you keep putting off, and the time you assume you have. It's an antidote to fear, to distance, to the way we sleepwalk through our own lives. The film is built around a small constellation of people. I'm protective of who they are at this stage, so I won't say their names, but when the film gets made, you'll have the chance to meet them. One of them is a filmmaker in her late 20s here in Toronto. When she was 15, her mother was diagnosed with cancer. She spent the next 12 years as her primary caregiver until her mother passed. She's 2 years out from that loss now, and the way she talks about it is unlike anything I've ever heard. Death is magical came from her. Another is an artist and a death doula in the west coast of Canada, originally from Mexico. When she was 5 years old, she was already going on calls with her mother, a community nurse, to support families through the process of losing a family member. She spent her entire life in proximity to death, and she carries it with a grace that the Western world has largely forgotten. And this is just a start. I'm planning to spend time in Asia, learning about beliefs and practices around death in other parts of the world. These aren't case studies. They're people who've been quietly carrying something most of us haven't taken the time to look at. Here's what I want to say about stepping into this as my first film in the series. I'm not coming to this with a wall of accolades. What I'm coming with is 15 plus years behind a camera, a pair of hands that did CPR on a stranger a year ago, and access to people who trust me to tell their stories carefully. The structures of documentary are changing. Audiences are changing. Where films live is changing. I think there's a real opportunity right now for filmmakers who can bring a different visual language and a different relationship to the audience. I'm trying to make a film that feels like the conversation you have with a close friend late at night while something real has cracked open. Here's how I see this rolling out. The first piece is a short film, the death episode of Searching for Soul, and that's what I'm raising development funding for today. It's a calling card. It proves the tone, the visual approach, and the relationship with the subjects. From there, the natural arc is a feature film built around these characters and this question. And running alongside both, there's a layer I'm building on YouTube and other less traditional platforms. Not promotional content, but actual filmmaking about the process, conversations, and the questions that may not fit into the film itself. A way to build an audience and conversation in parallel with the work, not after it. This isn't a film that should wait until all of the funding is in place and a festival run to find its people. The conversation is the point, and it's ongoing. I'm here today to ask for two things. 1, development funding to make the short, to pay my collaborators, to shoot with the care the subject deserves, and to build the proof of concept for the feature that follows. 2, mentorship. I'm a strong filmmaker stepping into producing a documentary for the first time. And I'm looking for the right people to walk alongside me as I do. If this resonates with you, if you believe, like I do, that we need stories right now to pull us back towards each other, I'd love to talk. Thank you. So that's the pitch. Straightforward, simple. This is what I'm working on. I'm going to be sharing these moments of what would traditionally be done in private, more behind the scenes. A lot of this inquiry and research and development and creation, I want to share that with other people because I feel like that's just as much a part of the conversation as the actual final film itself. And arguably, I'd say it's actually the more important part of the journey. I'm going to keep my head on straight. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to have conversations. I'm going to engage. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to protect my own brain and heart and body and mind. And I'm going to do what I know best. And that's engage with people, that's learn, that's tell stories, follow my curiosity, and ultimately create this project, which is Searching for Soul. I think about this line over and over in my own head when I go out camping and I'm in the outdoors. I have this mindset that I want to leave the world a little bit of a better place than when I found it.